So I have to say, I get the biggest kick out of airline magazines. You know, the ones that are stuffed in the little seat back pocket in front of you right between the barf bag and the previous passenger's bag of peanuts. I love them. I love these magazines in part because of just how over-the-top ridiculous all the advertisements are. Those of you who've been on a plane recently and you took a gander at this know just how crazy these ads are. It's fascinating, actually, to think about who exactly is the target of these advertisements. As far as I can tell, the target isn't me. The target is the 40 or 50-something mid-level executive who's so frequent a flyer that they've exhausted all their Sudoku puzzles and binge-watched all their shows so that it's stuck in the pit of boredom. They reach out to peruse something that's not quite a literary gem, let's all be honest, the airline magazine. The ads are simply fascinating. In this month's Sky magazine, which is the official magazine of Delta, there are not one, but two ads for hair loss solutions, okay? One is a fairly traditional, like, hair graft service thing. But the other, get this, is a baseball cap that when you wear it will regrow your hair. It has something to do with lasers, I think. Anyway, there are also ads for Michael Phelps branded hot tubs. Because the only thing better than having a hot tub is having one that's branded with Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps endorsed hot tub. Maybe it'll get you into shape like Michael Phelps when you're sitting there. Speaking of getting in shape, there's also a weight loss appliance called the Fat Freezer. I have no idea how it works. It looks like a girdle of some sort you put around your waist, and I think it's supposed to, I don't know how it works, but it's the Fat Freezer. And of course there are those who's who lists that are in every single one of these airline magazines. You know, the world's top steakhouses. Then there's New York's top steakhouses, which apparently is the same thing. I would agree. The world's top doctors, the world's top plastic surgeons, the world's top dentists. Just kidding, there are no dentists. Apparently the dentists are like the black sheep of the airline magazine fold. Though I did see an ad for an electric toothbrush and a mouth rinse that will supposedly keep your breath fresh for 24 hours straight. I am somehow skeptical, especially given the quality of airline food. But the ads I get the biggest kick out of are actually the ones for dating services, okay? You know just the ones that I'm talking about. They're the ads that say something like, "You're an important person. You are too busy to date. So pay us to find you some other important person who's too busy to have a relationship, and you'll have happily ever after." I really hope they go to premarital counseling. I really do. So this is the ad in this month's Sky for a dating service. It's for a company called Selective Search. I want you to envision the following headline. I'm not making this up. You can go read Sky Magazine for free online. Probably a reason they're giving it away. Anyway, I'm gonna get a letter from like the CEO of Delta or something to be like, "Why are you trashing my magazine, man?" I picked the best one, let's be honest, okay? Sky is about as good as it gets. How's that for a backhanded compliment? Envision the following headline: Finders of Keepers. This should be good, right? True love can be hard to find. Thankfully, we figured it out. I'm really glad they have. I couldn't resist going to their website, okay? So I went to Selective Search's website in preparation for this sermon. And it had an even better headline. You could leave your love life to chance. Of course, chance doesn't have an 87% success rate. No kidding. The premise, I gather, is that this company has applied techniques common in executive recruiting to dating, okay? So they're going to recruit you a significant other. They have a 6-step process: intake, benchmarks, screening, presentation, selection, and evaluation. It's like The Bachelor, but run by your HR department. Yay! Now, when we aggregate all of these ads, okay, I think we get the sense that the person at the top of our society's proverbial totem pole, the one who is the zenith of human aspiration, the person to whom all those Rolex ads are ostensibly targeted, is a balding executive with bad breath whose last date, began at one of the world's top steakhouses and ended in a Michael Phelps hot tub. And despite all of that, it somehow went so badly that they outsourced their next date to HR and immediately got on the phone to order one of those fat freezers. which I have to say is a far cry indeed from the svelte silver fox you're going to see in the ad for a standing desk on page 46. This is so interesting to me because I think it unearths a profound contradiction in our culture. We all want to be that frequent flyer. We all want to be the person to whom the Rolex ad is targeted. We all want to be a champion of commerce and a titan of industry. But somewhere deep down, I think we suspect that the way of life that follows from all that quote-unquote success just isn't all it's cracked up to be. We suspect that the price we must pay to get to the top is one that's not quite worth paying. The French sociologists Pierre Dardot and Christian Laval have argued that we live today in a world where performance and pleasure are inextricably bound up with one another. We are taught and formed in nearly every sphere of our lives, whether we are at work, at school, or at play, to treat life as if it were a competition. A competition with one another, and a competition with ourselves. Resting on one's laurels is never an option in our world. There's always more to be done to be better. And more indeed to be better at. We act toward and relate to ourselves as if we were capital, to be valorized by a financier, or enterprises to be streamlined and made more efficient. We act as if life is a sport, a game to be won or at least to be improved at. So we have coaches for everything. Life coaches, career coaches, sex coaches. Because we can always be better, faster, slimmer, and richer. The emblem of our economy is no longer that of Max Weber's Puritan, right? The person who works hard, accumulates wealth, but is incredibly disciplined with their wealth and spends extremely little. We're lying to ourselves if that's who we think our version of capitalism celebrates. It's no longer the Puritan. It's the person who doesn't just own a sports car, it's the person whose life is a sports car. A sports car which is always and perpetually beating its previous records. We are trained from birth to take pleasure in our performance. We raise our children to aspire to be better in perpetuity, not only in school, but in the 14 sports we sign them up for as soon as they can throw a ball or swim backstroke. In ballet, in piano, or in debate. Whatever it is, we want for them to be better. And once they're better, we want for them to be even better, and even better, and even better, and even better. Performance and increased efficiency are causes for celebration. Indeed, they're basically the only causes for celebration. Better grades, more wins, higher scores, life is a game, we're their coaches, and our kids are going to win, right? And once they get into the workplace, once we all get into the workplace, we're encouraged to compete all the more, driven not only by the general competitiveness of the marketplace, but by managerial strategies that encourage us to constantly evaluate ourselves by incentivizing, you guessed it, better and better performance through bonus structures, through HR mechanisms, and so on. If the watchword of our culture is competition, then its boogeymen are the undeserving poor, folks who are on disability or on welfare, refugees or immigrants, or anyone else who's suspected of not contributing, of not performing. And our worst fear is aging. It's not just dying, it's becoming elderly, which is a process which our culture of performance can only read as becoming less and less efficient, less and less capable of performing. That is, more and more useless. This is why our culture has simultaneously demonized the refugee and lost a long-held respect for our elders. We would prefer to keep both as far away from us as possible. Friends, we are in a rat race not only with each other, we're in a rat race now with ourselves. And all for what? To be the target audience of airline magazine ads. If you are sick and tired of living this way, if it has taken a toll on your family, on your kids, or just on you, I have good news for you. It is actually quite simple to change your life this morning. Stop doing things because you think they will make you better. Do whatever you do, not because it's going to better you, professionally or personally or whatever. Do it instead because you think it will please God. The great gamble of the Christian life is that the only way truly to become something better than ourselves, and that is the Christian promise. That's a direct quote from one of the early church fathers. To become something better than ourselves. The only way to do this is paradoxically first to renounce ourselves, to negate ourselves, to get over ourselves. St. Paul puts it succinctly in our second lesson this morning. We are convinced, he says, that one has died for all, and therefore all have died. And he died for all, so that those who might live no longer for themselves, but for him who died and was raised for them. See, our culture's modus operandi is one elaborate scheme by which we live for ourselves, but under the cover of being better people, better professionals, better lovers, or better parents. To give that up, to let our self-concern, our self-obsession die with Christ on the cross, can be the source of incredible freedom and peace. The sort of relief that one experiences when one walks into a dining room and realizes the table has already been set. The meal has already been prepared and the wine has already been poured. To realize that Christ has already saved you frees you from the impossible burden of having to save yourself. You don't have to do it. He did it for you. And crucially, that makes room for the Holy Spirit to tether your ambition. That powerful and unquenchable thirst for excellence and beauty and goodness, which is baked into each and every one of our souls, to the end for which it was originally purposed, God's will. It will give you courage to change your life, to make decisions you never thought you could make because you were afraid of earthly consequences of one sort or other, or because you were otherwise caught up in the whirligig of winning. When you care more about what God thinks of you than what the world does, you will finally be able to live a life that is worth the living. We must die with Christ. Because, friends, if we don't, the ways of the world are going to kill us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.